Okay, Mayor.
Good evening, and welcome to the July 21st, 2020 business meeting of the Council of the Borough of Ringwood. Because of the coronavirus emergency, the following provisions shall apply to the conduct of this meeting. Attendance at the meeting shall be limited to the municipal manager and essential staff at Borough Hall in the council chambers. Members of the municipal council will be in attendance via Zoom. The meeting shall be televised on Public Access Channel 77, recorded and rebroadcast on Channel 77 and on YouTube. The public may also observe and participate in the meeting via Zoom. Statement of compliance, Nicole?
Adequate notice of this business meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Law, PL 1975, Chapter 231, setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this business meeting by consent agenda resolution number 2020-09, adopted January 1st, 2020, through a legal notice published in the Suburban Trends issue of January 12th, 2020, and through notices emailed to the following named newspapers and posted on the bulletin board at the Borough Hall on January 6, 2020, the Suburban Trends and the Bergen Record.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Schaefer?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Here.
Council members Bolton?
Here.
Peretti?
Here.
Matty Olandis is absent. McCracken?
Here.
And O'Keefe.
Here. Also present, Borough Manager, Director, Department of Public Works, Scott Heck, Municipal Clerk, Nicole Lundemeyer, and Borough Attorney, Richard J. Klemek. As Scott said, the Pledge of Allegiance was done before the meeting started. Before we begin the meeting, there are a few protocols we will start following to make sure it is easier for the public so they are able to follow our virtual meetings. While we continue to have virtual meetings, council members must be on video. I find it hard to know who is speaking when there is no video, and so does the public. If a council member has something to share, please address the mayor, asking if you can speak. We cannot have others interrupting at any given time. The mayor controls the meeting, so please address your questions to the mayor. The mayor will then ask Mr. Heck or Mr. Klemek, for their input. With that being said, there are two other comments that I want to make. Mr. Heck, would you please look into scheduling an open space committee meeting? I don't want to forget that, so.
Sure.
And Mr. Klemek has asked me for a committee for co-litigation. And as mayor, I'm going to appoint Deputy Mayor Spear, Councilman McCracken, and myself to that committee. We have no proclamation or presentations this evening, so we have approval of minutes. And the first one is the special meeting of May 21st, 2020.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Can we go back for a second? You said for the committee, who were the three council members?
Deputy Mayor Spear,
Okay.
Councilman McCracken, and myself.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Welcome. Now we have approval of minutes.
So for the special meeting on May 21st, all were present. Would you like me to do the roll call?
Would you like a roll call, Mayor?
Oh yeah, motion first.
Motion first.
I'll move them. That's Ryan. Second, John Spear.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Council members Bolton?
Yes.
Peretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
O'Keefe?
Yes.
Next, we have the business meeting of June 16th, 2020. All were present.
Have a motion?
I'll move them. That's Ryan.
McCracken, I'll second it.
Roll call?
Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Council members Bolton?
Yes.
Peretti?
Yes.
McCracken,
Yes.
O'Keefe.
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda is the general public comment. Mr. Heck, is there anyone online from the public that wants to speak?
Yes, there is one person, Ms. Shu. I will bring her in.
Hi, good evening. Jennifer Shu. Can you hear me?
Yep, we
Yes.
can hear you.
205 Lakeview Avenue, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Green Team. I would like to make several announcements. First of all, the Green Team is presenting the basics of composting in a virtual event on Thursday, July 30th at 2 p.m. The event will be hosted by the Ringwood Public Library, and I hope that members of the community can attend. Members of the community can register for the event on the library calendar, or which is located on the library website, or they can register for the event on the Sustainable Ringwood Facebook page. During the event, we'll announce some future composting events as well. So I encourage and invite the community to come to that event. Secondly, the Green Team has developed a digital brochure listing suggestions on what homeowners can do to promote healthy lakes. The brochure is posted on the Borough website on the page for the Environmental Commission. So I urge community members to go to that page and to click on Maintaining Healthy Lakes. I think they will find some helpful suggestions on the digital brochure. Finally, I would like to announce that the Green Team member, Michaela Schwab, is presenting a storytime event on August 14th at 11 a.m. And this event will also be hosted by the Ringwood Public Library. Michaela will be reading two books, The Lorax by Dr. Seuss and A Bug from Aunt Tilly by Susan Haber O'Keefe. These two books have ecologically friendly themes. So I encourage people to register for the event. It will be posted shortly in the next couple of days on the library calendar. Participants will also have an opportunity to pick up a reusable bag at the curbside pickup of the library, and the children will be encouraged to decorate the bag and give it to their parents as part of our Bring Your Own Bag campaign. So I'm happy to announce these three events from these three items from the Green Team, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Scott, anyone?
Yes, Ms. Kennedy would like to also speak.
Hi, Robin Kennedy, 310 Lakeview Avenue. The county gave the town an amount of money to defray some of the COVID costs. First of all, I wanted you to refresh our memories on how much that was, and when and how are you going to determine how you use that money? Will any part of it go to defray the costs that the borough incurred, if there were any, to get restaurants to do outdoor eating? Or will any of it be used to help other businesses in town who also had to make lots of adjustments to their stores, to their shops, to their way of doing business in order to be able to open safely? How are you going to decide what to do with that? And again, what was the amount of money?
Mr. Scott, can you answer that question?
Yeah, I can. I don't know the dollar amount. I don't have it in front of me, but it's about $770,000, I believe, in this round. The county has some very specific guidelines as to what we can use the money for and what we can't use the money for. It has to be money that we spent directly. We can't, like as an example, the ambulance corps can't buy something and then we reimburse them. That's not the way that the county has set this up. The federal money it's federal guidelines as well. So the federal guidelines is how we are proceeding. So like all the PPE, we applied for like costs for health departments and employee costs and so forth. We haven't received any dollars yet, but we're putting it in based upon their guidelines, and in terms of what costs that other businesses have encountered, if in fact it's something that we have done to try and help businesses, and we have quite a few businesses that are participating in some of our programs to try and work with their business. We're trying to put some of that money in. Whether it's going to be all covered or not, I don't know. It really depends upon this firm that they hired, whether they believe that it is an allowable expense or not. So it's approximately $700 and some thousand. I don't have the exact dollar amount in front of me, but that's how it's going to proceed. And they give us pretty updates. If we have any questions, we send them emails. I ask them if in fact we can use some of that money to assist the schools, because I'm kind of concerned about the schools starting. I know that the schools got some of their own money, although it wasn't a lot, but they're also applying for some FEMA money. And the response that I got so far is they believe that if in fact the school exhausts all of their funds, then I may be able to use some of this stuff, provided that we write the checks directly to the vendors. We might be able to assist the schools with some of the items that they may need in order to get the schools opened up. So that's where we're at this point.
Thank you.
And Mayor, there's nobody else that's looking to speak.
Okay, can I have a motion to close public portion?
McCracken, I'll make the motion to close the public portion.
Can I have a second?
Ryan, I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call?
Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Council members Bolton?
Yes.
Ferretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
O'Keefe?
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda is old business. I don't believe we have any old business.
No old business, no new business, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Schaefer, this is Kathy O'Keefe. I do have a question for you.
Yes.
At the beginning of the meeting, you said that you were going to form a task force for the COA obligations. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
I was under the impression that it was no longer referred to as COA.
Well, that's the information I was given.
Okay, and I want to know how the rest of the council.
You're muted.
Yeah.
I wanted to know how the rest of the council would be kept in the loop. I'm a little dismayed that you didn't require that one person from the minority be on this very important task force.
Well, it's the mayor's decision to who to put on there. And
I totally understand that, Mayor Schaefer. It is your prerogative, but I would think, given that Ryan Bolton received as many votes as you, that you would want to include at least one member of the minority.
I have picked the first people that I want on the committee. Thank you.
And how will you keep the rest of the council in the loop?
We'll keep them in the loop.
In what manner?
When we have the meeting, and what happens is the litigation, we will keep you, all council members in the loop.
Will it be timely and comprehensive?
Well, of course, when we get the information, we'll give it to you as we get it.
On an ongoing basis, or when you are done?
I can't answer that right now. I don't know.
Okay, when you have that answer, please let us know. Thank you.
Resolutions.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2021-55, whereas the Chief Financial Officer has certified that funds are available for the payment in the current bills list in the amount of $862,043.50, supplemental payments in the amount of $2,738,112.91, and merchant service fees in the amount of $137.49 to be credited to the following accounts for a total of $3,420,293.90, of which $1,708,456.08 is going to the Ringwood Board of Education, and $1,003,783.83 is going to Lakeland Board of Education. Mayor, you're muted.
Okay, sorry. We have a motion.
Mayor, this is John Spear. I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Can I have a
McCracken,
second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call?
Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Council members Bolton?
Yeah.
Ferretti?
Yes. Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
O'Keefe.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2020-156, this is a person-to-person transfer. This is a resolution approving a person-to-person transfer and a place-to-place transfer of a liquor license 1611330010008 from Raku Sushi LLC to Cheyennes Liquor, Inc. Whereas an application has been filed for a person-to-person and a place-to-place transfer from a plenary retail consumption license, number 1611330010008, issued to Raku Sushi LLC for the premises at 130 Skyline Drive, Ringwood, New Jersey. Whereas the submitted application form is completed in all respects and the transfer fees have been paid and the liquor license has been properly renewed in the current license term ending September 30th, 2020. And whereas the applicant, Cheyennes Liquor, Inc., of 116 Cupso Avenue, Ringwood, New Jersey, is qualified to be the licensed according to the standards established by Title 33 of the New Jersey statutes, regulations promulgating thereunder, as well as the pertinent local ordinances and the conditions consist with Title 33. And whereas the applicant has disclosed and is issuing authority review for the source of all funds used to purchase the license and the license business and all additional financing obtained in connection with the license. Now therefore be it resolved, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Ringwood as follows. The Borough of Ringwood does hereby approve, effective July 22nd, 2020, the transfer for the aforesaid consumption license to Cheyennes Liquor, Inc., and does hereby direct the municipal clerk to endorse the license certificate to new ownership as follows. The license subject to all terms and conditions as may be transferred to Cheyennes Liquor, Inc., effective July 22nd, 2020, and I will refer to Mr. Klimek at this point.
Yes, I have a question. Do we have a tax clearance certificate on this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we do, and no negative comments from the police department or any member of the public?
None.
None.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Heck, is that the place next to the Stop and Shop? Or
Yes.
next to the liquor store?
It's that side of the
Yes.
street, yes.
Okay, thank you. And
Councilman Peretti, I'll move it.
okay, thank you.
I'll second. That's right.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Council members Bolton?
Yes.
Ferretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
O'Keefe?
Yes.
Resolution 2020-157, whereas the Borough of Ringwood received two proposals from qualified contractors for the Church of Good Shepherd parking lot, contract number 2020-09. On June 23rd, 2020, RJ Tuitt Paving and Trucking LLC was awarded the project to the low bidder for $11,075. This project was prepared to pave the parking lot of the Church of the Good Shepherd after the water main was replaced in the parking lot. Whereas the Borough Engineer has submitted and recommends payment in that dollar amount, invoice number 1656 dated July 7th, 2020 for the work completed. Now therefore be it resolved that the Municipal Council of the Borough of Ringwood hereby approves payment in the amount of $11,075 to RM Tuitt Paving of Ringwood, New Jersey. And I believe all the rest of the paperwork is in order.
Any comments?
Ms. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
McCracken, I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Council members Bolton?
Yes.
Ferretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
O'Keefe?
Yes.
Resolution 2020-158. This is bringing in the dollar amount for the Clean Communities money. We do this each year. Usually the commitment for the grant comes in after our budget is approved. We have to bring it in so we can charge against it, and that's what this resolution does. Whereas NJSA 40A:4-87 provides that the Director of Division of Local Government Services may approve the insertion of any special item of revenue into the budget for any county or municipality when such items have been made available by law and amount were not determined at the time of adoption of the budget. And whereas the said director may also approve the insertion of any item or appropriation for the equal amount. And whereas the Borough of Ringwood has received a notice of award for $29,957.51 from the State of New Jersey Clean Communities Grant and wishes to amend the budget to include this dollar amount as a revenue. Now therefore be it resolved, the Municipal Council of the Borough of Ringwood, Passaic County, State of New Jersey hereby requests the Director of Division of Local Government Services to approve the insertion of an amount of revenue in the budget for the calendar year 2020 in the sum of $29,957.51, which is now available as a revenue from miscellaneous revenues. Be it further resolved that the like sum of $29,957.51 be, and the same is hereby appropriated under the caption of General Appropriations, as listed in your sheet in front of you. Be it further resolved, the municipal clerk forward one certified copy of this resolution to the Director of Local Government Services for their approval.
I have a motion.
Bracken.
Who was it?
I'll second that. Councilman Peretti?
Roll call, please.
Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Council members Bolton?
Yes.
Peretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
O'Keefe?
Yes, but I did have one question, Mayor Schaefer.
Yes.
On the Clean Communities Grant, I know that our town manager had told us last year before this terrible pandemic hit that he was planning to use the Clean Communities Grant in a new and innovative way to get the community involved. I was wondering if those plans had ever been finalized. I recognize that they can't be implemented at this time, but it would be nice to know that we have something that we can follow for 2021.
Ms. Head.
Yes, yeah, we had a lot of different ideas to utilize some different community involvement into our Clean Communities program. Unfortunately, we certainly haven't had the opportunity to utilize them this year, so we will be moving it forward to next year's program. So yes, we do have some ideas and some different things that we're going to do, different events and so forth. So we will be doing that going forward next year, or as soon as we see when we have the opportunity that we all can get together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution 2020-159, and let me correct a statement I made earlier. I wasn't aware of I didn't have the dollar amount exactly in front of me when I was asked a question by the public. The money that the award that we received from the federal government through Passaic County was $713,506. And the reason I know because it's in this resolution as another Chapter 159, bringing the money into the budget. And originally, Debbie and I had talked to you guys about, listen, I don't want to artificially inflate our revenues because I was concerned about that because we don't know what we're going to get each month. And Debbie and I talked about it a lot. We talked about it with the auditor. What we've decided to do, instead of doing it each month when we get the actual dollar amount, is we're going to bring the entire dollar amount in as a revenue. Then as the year goes on, we will balance out what the county actually reimburses us with that federal money, and we will then do another amendment at the end of the year, subtracting out what we didn't actually realize. So we're going to this evening bring in the whole $713,506 as a revenue, and then we will deduct from it what we don't receive, because we're not going to use. It's going to be difficult to use that kind of money in the next in the next few months, because remember the money has to be spent by December 30th. So so in any case, what this resolution does is exactly the same resolution as the last one. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but Resolution 2020-159 is a Chapter 159 doing exactly the same thing as we did with the Clean Communities Grant, where we're bringing the money into the budget as a revenue. It's going to go into miscellaneous revenues, special items revenue anticipated prior to consent, and general appropriations. And other than that, the resolution is exactly the same, with the exception of it's $713,506 and no cents. And again, this is the money that came from. I'll read that section of the document. Whereas the Borough of Ringwood has received notice of an award of $713,506 from the Coronavirus Relief Fund and wishes to amend its budget to include this dollar amount as a revenue.
We don't have to have another motion on that, do we?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
It's a
May I have
separate
motion?
resolution.
Mayor Schaefer, I just had a quick question. Regarding the funds, if I heard correctly, there's a consulting firm that we can contact regarding ways that it can be deployed and permissible uses. If they could provide us with an overview and some examples of ways that towns are using it, it might be something that we can tap into in ways that we might not anticipate. I'd actually seen, and I will caveat this up front, that I am not advocating that we do this with these funds, nor do I think it is an appropriate use, but I did read that the state of Missouri is using 15 of the corona relief dollars to promote tourism. So I think that's extreme, not what I'm looking to do here, but if they can do that, I wonder what improvements we might be able to make in our community under this umbrella.
Okay. Mr. Hepp?
Yes, Mayor, and Mr. Bolton, I did inquire as to whether they can give us a list. They can't give us a list, but what we have with all the Passaic County towns, I'm getting feedback from somebody, I'm not sure who, but what we have is an interactive exchange of ideas, and as things get added and subtracted from the list from all the other towns, from all the questions and answer period, we get to see those. I've assigned somebody in the finance office who is reviewing all that stuff. So they don't have like a menu that we can pick from. So if we have things that we might want to do, if you get them to me, I can ask the question and see if I can get an answer back. They're pretty responsive. But I caution everybody that if in fact we signed an agreement that if we expend these funds, even though they tentatively quasi-approve them, we still have to go through a closeout, just like we would do with FEMA funds. And if the items are disallowed at that level, the borough is responsible for them, the county is not. So it's something that we have to be a little cautious of, because if you think too far out of the box, you may end up having to reimburse those funds. So again, after the last meeting, I did ask those questions. Can I get, a menu of items that we can, and it's not that simple, but if in fact any of you have any ideas, you can email me and I can certainly ask the questions, or Terry can ask the questions.
That's good. Does that answer you?
It does. And I think that part of the angle that they were taking in Missouri was about getting people outside and outdoor recreation and health. And since we are focused on the bike and pedestrian plan, I didn't know if this might be an avenue to facilitate that type of recreation. Again, not looking to push the boundaries, but if the boundaries are there and it's a permissible, just seeking whatever benefit we can get for the town.
Based upon what I have seen from the responses, that would probably more than likely not be an allowable expense at this point. They really want it to be COVID related. They are actually rethinking some of even the employee expenses. At this point, they had set out a bulletin, then they retracted that bulletin. So I'll ask the question, but my guess is based upon some of the things I've seen that probably is not going to be permissible. But if you guys have ideas, if you send them to me, I certainly will submit them.
Mayor, this is Councilwoman O'Keefe. I have a question.
Yes.
As we discussed at the last council meeting, it's a big plan. There are little parts and pieces that could be applied to giving our students an ability to walk and bike safely to school. If we were to limit those parts of the plan, I think that they would fall under the COVID, given the complexity that the Board of Education is going to have to deal with, finding a way for our children to get back to school without packing them on school buses. So I'd like to see if that could be addressed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, I'm going to give you one example. One of the communities, I'm not going to mention which one, wanted to replace all their ambulances because they felt that the ambulances were going to be needed to transport people to and from the hospitals. And unfortunately, they felt that was a matter of a capital expenditure that you should be upkeeping, that you have to replace your ambulances on a certain amount of year program anyway, so that was not allowed. So they're pretty stringent with what they will and won't do, but again, I don't have any problem asking the question. But just know that it's really geared towards COVID expenses direct.
Okay.
And it has to be spent before December 30th.
Before this December 30th?
Before this December 30th, yes. Not encumbered, not committed to, spent. So.
Okay.
Okay, so I didn't read the whole resolution. Mayor, if you have any other questions relative to this, bringing this in as a revenue.
We needed a motion, right? Did we have a motion? I think.
I think I already made the motion.
Okay. We have a
I'll
second?
second it.
Okay, roll call.
That's Ryan, I'll second it.
Thank you.
Mayor Schaefer?
Roll call, please.
Mayor Schaefer?
Mayor
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Deputy Mayor Spear, you're muted.
Yes.
Councilmembers Bolton?
Yes.
Peretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
O'Keefe?
Yes.
Okay, and I have one more, Chapter 159, and this is in the dollar amount of $5,615.38. And this is the Borough of Ringwood has received notice of award for that dollar amount for NJACCHO. This is from the health officers for the same type of programs that we're using for some of our nursing and some of our contact tracing. So again, this wasn't available, so we are going to use this for our strengthening local health capacity training and scholarship. So I would like a motion for that dollar amount, if I may, and it's in the same miscellaneous revenues and general appropriations as outlined in your sheets before you.
Before I ask for a motion, Scott, does that cover like COVID testing and things, or is that paid for by the county?
The testing has been paid for by the county, with the exception of the testing that we've done where we're actually compensating. No, what the health department's going to use this for is, I think they're using it for some of the education, for the tabletop exercise, for some of the functions that are happening inside of the health department. You know, some of the contact tracing, some of the extra people that we brought in, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Any other questions? I have a motion.
Correct, and I'll make the motion.
It's Ryan, I'll move it.
Roll call, please.
Mayor
Yes.
Schaefer? Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Councilmembers Bolton?
Yes.
Peretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
O'Keefe?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 2020-161, whereas the Chief Financial Officer has certified that funds are available for the payment 21 for the Erskine Lakes Property Owners Association dam restoration in the amount of $24,806.14 to be listed to the following accounts for that dollar amount. I list this separately in case there was somebody that Mr. Klimek that had to abstain on this. This is paying the dam.
Yes, if there's any residents or members of the Erskine Lakes Association, they should disqualify themselves. Are there any?
Yes, I'll abstain.
Okay.
Member.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
a Spain member of El Pozo, I'm going to abstain as well.
So Mr. Ferretti is also going to abstain. I saw him waving his hand. So Deputy Mayor, if you want, or otherwise I will say, is there a motion for Resolution 2020-161?
I'll move it.
John Spear, I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Nicole?
So Mayor Schaefer?
Abstain.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Councilmembers Bolton?
Yes.
Peretti?
Abstain.
McCracken?
Abstain.
And O'Keefe?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, the last resolution I think Nicole added today. Okay, Resolution 2020-168. This is new in your agenda. This actually came from the Aware ASAP Municipal Alliance. This is not really our resolution, so this is your revision today. And surprisingly, it's another Chapter 159 where we're bringing revenues in for them. So the only difference is, this is whereas the Borough of Ringwood has received notice of an amendment to award from an Aware ASAP Municipal Alliance and wishes to amend the 2019 budget to include this as an additional revenue, and its dollar amount is $919.40 as a revenue. And it gets listed in the same general appropriations and miscellaneous revenues. And Nicole, we received this from the Aware group.
Yes.
Correct, okay. So that's why this wasn't in your packet. So, Mayor, if we can have a motion on this item.
Kraken, I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Roll call, please.
Mayor Schaefer?
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Council members Bolton?
Yes.
Peretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
O'Keefe?
Yes.
That's all the resolutions, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have consent agenda resolution.
Yes, one item it looks like was added by the planning board to your agenda today, and that will be the last one, 167, but I will read them all as we go through, and that's a refund of escrow money. Resolution 2020-162, whereas the Municipal Council of the Borough of Ringwood has reviewed in the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, and whereas the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Ringwood is not desirous of removing any resolution from the individual action from the agenda, now therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. 2020-162 is the approval of the consent agenda. 2020-163 is the approval of voided checks. 2020-164 is the approval of payroll and payroll transfers for June 2020. 2020-165 is the authorized refund tax court appeal block 204 lot 24. 2020-166 refund overpayment 2020 property taxes 881 block 881 lot 41. And 2020-167 is refund escrow money upon the advice of the Board of Adjustment, and that is for CV Property Holdings LLC, Countryside Lane, amended site plan 2000-150 for $960.
2000 dash what?
Hold on a second. 2000-150.
150, thank you. Okay, now I have a motion.
Kraken, I'll make the motion.
Have a second?
Ryan, I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Council members Bolton?
Yes.
Peretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
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 Yes.
And O'Keefe?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is the manager's report. Mr. Head.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I wanted to update everybody on the COVID-19. And we've been updating everybody online, but Ringwood has had a total of 139 cases. 132 of those 139 cases have recovered. We have 0 in the hospital. We unfortunately had 6 deaths, and we have 1 active case. So while as a community we've done well containing the virus, but we still need to be vigilant, and the community and again I every month I talk about this. The community buy-in was so important because they're the ones that helped us to keep these numbers the way they are. But we still need to practice social distancing. We still need to wear masks when you're in close proximity to others. We still need to educate our children so that we can continue to have the lowest number in Passaic County. I don't know what the fall is going to bring for us, but I would certainly encourage everybody to continue the safe practices that we've had. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been a little concerned with some of the holidays and things when I've seen what's gone on. I'm happy to report that we didn't have an uptick, which concerned me a little bit. But please, everybody should just remain vigilant if you possibly can, and keep wearing those masks. If you have any questions, Jeanette Davison has been a great resource. I refer everybody to her for any questions that you might have. She will certainly help you and guide you any way that we can. We have also, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So if anyone is feeling sick and thinks they may contract the virus, should they call the borough nurse, or should they go to their
They certainly can call the borough nurse. They could call their doctor nurse. I would call their doctor first, but if anybody has any questions, even, whether they have an exposure, sometimes people are confused about, an exposure to an exposure may not necessarily be an exposure, right? So we're learning that, according to the CDC, that, if in fact you spent between 10 and 15 minutes in close proximity to somebody, well, then you didn't have masks on and they have been positive. Well, maybe you have been exposed. So any of those questions, I refer everybody to Jeanette Davison or Kathy Scribala. They have been answering all those questions, and she's been very, very interactive with the community.
Thank you.
So where was I? So relative to some of the activities, some of the outdoor dining, some of the restaurants, we have a lot of restaurants that are participating in our program where we're having outdoor dining. We also opened it up to all, like when we passed a resolution, this council passed a resolution that gave me the opportunity for a public event, not just for restaurants, public dining, but also outdoor businesses, and we've been trying to assist where we can. We have some fitness places, some yoga places, some karate places that can't use their indoor facilities, and we've been scheduling where they can use our facilities outside, where they can maintain social distancing, whether it's a parking lot at the ball field, whether it's Pioneer Park, basketball, or Jenkins Park. Like, we've been trying to help all those other businesses to be able to operate their business where they can. So we have a lot of people that are participating in our program. We also have a part-time individual, as well as Donna Riccione, who are going businesses to business to help educate the businesses to make sure that they are following the governor's executive order and the health department's executive orders, and make sure that they're complying, and we're actually helping them to make sure that it's as healthy as it possibly can be. We have an individual that goes at night and on weekends, both to salons and restaurants and nail places and whatnot. Any place that there may be public, we're trying to work with them. We've worked with the post office, we've worked with Stop and Shop, we've helped them to get some hand sanitizers and cleaning products, and so we've been very active with the business community, and if there is other people that are looking for some assistance in some way that we can help, as I have mentioned on all of my videos and online, call us. If there's something that we can do to help you, we will certainly go out of our way to try and do that. As I said, as I've been saying all along, we're all kind of in this together. We're kind of isolated up here in Ringwood, and so if there's something that we can do to help somebody or help one of our fellow neighbors, we're going to do it. So that's what I have on the COVID-19. At the last meeting, the council members asked if I would review and bring back to you waiving late fees for water and sewer bills. As I mentioned, I don't have the authority to do that on my own. That has to be something that comes from the council, and I asked Mr. Klimek to check to see if the council even has the authority to do that, whether that fit within the governor's executive order. So this evening we sent out, or I don't know when you sent it out, Nicole, but we sent out a proposed resolution to you folks. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background so that you know what perspective we're looking at from a financial situation. So we sent out that for you to review. Keep in mind that every year the numbers are different, but based upon last year, waiving late fees for water could amount to $1,100 a month, or $3,300 if you're going to do the 3-month period as you suggested. Some of those late fees are larger water users and who are, quite frankly, habitual late individuals. So as an example, for an individual household, maybe an average household is about $100 a quarter. The interest for that $100 would be $1.50. So the larger users that don't pay their water bills will benefit from this, but the homeowners will as well. So that's the perspective on the water, $3,300 over a 3-month period. The sewer bill, the sewer, people that are on sewers are in a very small section of the community. Their quarterly sewer bill is $300. For those who are on that sewer system, their late fee would be $4.50. The possible loss of revenue from late fees for a 3-month period based upon last year would be $220 for the 3 months. So those are the information. We do have a resolution in the event that you would like to consider that, but Mayor, that's really up to you if you want me to.
I have a question. That's for water and sewer only, correct?
Correct. We already followed on the taxes. We already did the late fees on the taxes. That was in conformance with the governor's executive order.
Okay. Do we have to have a motion for this resolution, correct?
If you would like me to read it, I didn't know if you wanted to have any discussion first, Mayor.
Any discussion? Anyone like to speak on this?
McCracken, I just think it's important that if there's anything we could do to help out any of our residents that are hurting at this time, I think it's important we can do that. And if we can't take the presidency last night, I think it's great.
Okay. Anyone else?
This is Councilwoman O'Keefe. I agree with Councilman McCracken. In these difficult times, extending this courtesy to our residents is of the utmost importance.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Heck, do you want to read the
Yes. Nicole, what would be the resolution number?
2020-169.
169.
169?
Okay, whereas the consent agenda resolution 2020-15 established a rate of interest on delinquent bills for the water consumed in the water assessments shall be and is hereby established that 1 and 1.5% interest per month charged if not billed is not paid in 30 days of the bill is rendered. And whereas due to COVID-19 crisis, numerous service users are suffering financial hardship and are unable to timely pay their water and sewer bills when due. And whereas municipal council is desirous of providing relief to persons under the circumstances, I'm going to have to mute somebody here. I'm sorry. Whereas the municipal council is desirous of providing relief to persons under the circumstances of the above mentioned, now therefore be it resolved that additional interest shall not be charged or accrued for the next 90 days on delinquent water or sewer bills.
Okay, can I have a motion?
McCracken, I'll make the motion that we accept this resolution as read.
Councilwoman O'Keefe, I'll second that motion.
Okay, roll the call, please.
Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
No.
Council members Bolton?
Yes.
Ferretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
O'Keefe?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Scott, can I just add something for here? I just want to make sure that people know that we're going to still notify them, though.
Yeah, I was gonna go through. Nicole and I were talking about this today at length, and we just want we want the residents to be aware, though they're not going to be charged the interest on or the late fees or whatever we waive, but they still will get a notice. And the reason that we want to make sure they're getting a notice, it's part of the system, and I don't want people to not get those notices because, you know, in December, we're gonna have a tax sale, because we're obligated to have a tax sale, and I don't want people to, you know, be all of a sudden say, hey, wait a minute, how come I wasn't notified of this? So we are still gonna send out the bills. We're not going to have anything on there relative to assessment fees, but they still need to get those notices so that they're aware that if in fact something, that this bill is accumulating, because come December, it's not fair to them that they didn't know that this was happening. So just so all of you know, they're still going to get those bills in the mail.
Okay.
All right, does that make sense?
But they'll show a zero amount as far as,
There will be no charge on it for late fees or interest, but there will be, but they'll still get it. We're going to send the notices out as if we send 3 notices out for everybody, and we're going to still do that. even though it's gonna show the bill, and it's gonna show zero due, only because for those few people that may not be paying attention, I don't want them to get caught in a tax sale situation.
Okay. All right.
All right?
Great.
So it's gonna be a little bit more expensive to us to do that way, but I think it just makes sense.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to the water department. I'm sorry, did somebody have a question? No, okay. I get feedback from this as well as the audio system, so sometimes I'm not sure, so I'm sorry about that. So last month, June 2020, Ringwood customers used 30,004,654 gallons of water. Last year in June, Ringwood customers used 22,167,164 gallons of water, which is, so essentially this year we had almost an 8 million gallon increase, or a 35% increase in water usage. So far in July, the Ringwood water customers have used over 10% more water than in the first 20 days of July than they did in 2019. And why am I telling you this? You know, there was a period of time over the last month where I put a total ban on outside watering on because we were having trouble on weekends keeping up with the demand for potable water. So I put a total ban on for outside watering for the course of about a week. At the end of that week, I went to odd and even watering Monday through Friday because all the sprinkler systems and the pools that were being filled, and we wanted to stretch out the time frame by when people were actually filling their pools and doing whatnot, because if they're all filling at the same time on Fridays and Saturdays when we have our largest use, it was a problem. So I allowed it to go to Monday through Friday, odd and even, and that was a huge help. And then ultimately I lifted the water ban altogether and went to odd and even, which is what we are on a regular basis. So I want to thank excuse me, I want to thank everybody for their cooperation over the last few weeks. We did put those water restrictions in place, and at this point we have lifted all those water restrictions and are resuming odd and even 7 days a week, which is helpful. I'm going to talk in a minute a little bit about some of the things we did to make those changes, because when you start having 35% increases in usage, that's huge for a water system, and we have to keep up and make sure our tanks are full. So, also, one of the council members asked me to report on hydrants and whatnot, so I'm going to do that right now. The status of our hydrants are, we have 373 hydrants, and there are those, and there are 2 that need to be replaced. There are hydrants in many different areas of town. 2 need to be replaced, and one is in Skyline and one is in Erskine, but there are other hydrants in those areas. And there are 6 hydrants that are functioning but still need to have some maintenance done on them. Keep in mind, every year when we flush the water system, we exercise every hydrant at that point, and we keep track of the hydrants that may be difficult to turn, hydrants that leak, valves, gaskets that may need to be replaced, the valve that doesn't work correctly or broken, or in some cases, hydrants that don't work altogether. Some of the hydrants that are in use are 99% of them are for fire protection as well as flushing and whatnot, but there are a few of them that are for really just the flushing purposes. Like one of the hydrants that need to be replaced in Erskine is solely for the purpose of flushing. It is not for firematic operations, but when you get to the end of a line, and instead of that water sitting there stagnant, we flush that water out. So that's what some of these are for. So the reality from a fire perspective, one of them doesn't work and 6 of them need repair. One of them isn't for firematic operations. So and of the hydrants, in all sections of town, because of the elevations we have different pressure systems, we have different size pipes and whatnot. So each hydrant has a different pressure. That's why you'll notice some of them are different colors, because they're color coded based upon the pressure that's in the street. So that is the update on hydrants, if there are any questions. Okay.
Councilwoman O'Keefe, I did have a question. Scott, is this the first time that we ever outright banned watering at any time? I've been here for 25 years, and usually we do first go to the odd even schedule before placing a ban on all watering. I think some of our residents were a little upset. As you know, many of our residents during COVID have taken the time to spruce up their landscaping, did some great plantings, and it was a little disconcerting to have a total ban right away. Luckily, it didn't last long, but I was just curious if we ever had that previously, because I couldn't recall it.
We have had water bans in effect for as long as I've lived in Ringwood. We've had a lot of water bans over the years. There were periods of time before I came that we had fire trucks pumping water up the hill to keep the tanks full. We don't have watering every day by code, and I think by state law, but certainly by our ordinance. We have odd and even watering all year long. We don't have unrestricted watering. So we didn't go right away to a total ban. Ringwood is on an odd and even watering on a regular basis. That's our ordinance, and that's what we always have had.
I see. How
And
does
so,
the resident?
okay,
Okay.
let me finish answering. So that's been the odd and even for years. That's not anything new. That's something that's been in place. And any individual that called here or anybody that had any problem that had new landscaping, we always give them the ability to continue to water those. We don't certainly want to put anybody in harm. The whole purpose of banning the outside watering was we want to make sure that we have fire protection. We want to make sure that we have potable water. So if I have to make a choice between outside watering and making sure that we have fire protection throughout the community, that's why I did that. I did it for a period of 5 days. We didn't actually enforce it. We didn't go door to door. We didn't, but I was grateful that everybody participated. And anybody that had a problem actually called. We said, listen, if you have new landscaping, by all means water it. We would ask you not to fill your pool unless it's a brand new pool and you had to fill it in order to keep the sides full. So we had a lot of discussion with those residents, and trust me when I tell you, if Ringwood residents are concerned about something, they're not shy to email or call us. So we worked a lot of those things out. But yeah, no, there is no everyday watering. Our ordinance for many years has been odd and even on outside watering.
Are residents aware of that? I'm not sure we're getting the message out, but I agree with you 100%, Scott, that if it comes to portable water or being able to fight fires, they certainly come first. And I'm glad to see that you made exceptions for residents who contacted you individually with their concerns.
Yeah, it's on our website, and this has been into place for many years, so I certainly can bring it closer to the top of the website. But in any case, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I've done so that we can avoid that. Because I don't like to put restrictions in. I don't do that very often. So this is what we did. While we had that water restriction going on, I did it for the period of time. We were coming in every 3 hours or 4 hours, kind of around the clock, managing our tanks, moving water around town to make sure that we had enough water while we didn't have any restrictions on, and I felt that wasn't the answer. So what I did in those days where I had the restrictions was Skyline Pump House is the main producing pump house for our town. What happens is Skyline Pump House, we have 3 pumps in there that pump water from there to the Skyline Drive water tank. The water from the Skyline Drive water tank gets distributed through our water system, and that's what creates our pressure, and that's what creates the water in all the other tanks. So we had pump 4 replaced in Skyline Pump House. It was installed 23 years ago. I spent about $34,000. Prior to replacing pump 4, the yield was 416 gallons a minute with approximately 50 foot of water in the Skyline Drive water tank. After replacing the pump 4 yield increased to 530 gallons a minute, and the tank was at a higher elevation, so it was pumping against more pressure. So we were getting a significant yield. On average, we got between 115 and 150 gallons more a minute. What happens over the time, we brought a company in and we established that the motors were good, but the pumps get worn over the years. And a few of your council members in the finance committee, I sent some pictures so that you saw kind of what was going on with the cranes down at Skyline replacing pumps. And what happens is they free flow a little bit, and you don't get as much pumping potential out of them. So that was a very good success story on getting the pumps. And now we're operating on an extra 100 gallons a minute, which is significant to keep those tanks full. It's a little nerve-wracking watching the tanks drop. You can actually watch the tanks drop when people are up and around and start moving on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So this is keeping up. We are going to replace the next pump. pump 3 at the end of the month, so that all those pumps are new, and we'll probably get a little bit more yield out of that as well. So that's why we put the water ban on for those few days, because we were going to physically take a pump out of our pump station. So that was removing one of our backups. There's 3 pumps in there, 2 work at a time, and we rotate between the other ones. So I felt at that point it was just prudent to take that step. So anyway, so I don't think that we're going to be seeing that anytime soon, unless something radical happens. We have a water break that's beyond our control, or something along those lines. Relative to some of our facilities, the vestibule doors here at the front door are being installed in the next few weeks, so that they are going to be all automated. There's going to be 2 doors as you walk in, just like there is now, but they're going to slide sideways. They're not going to open out. They're much safer for handicapped folks. And there's going to be a door on the inside, which after you have signed in, if in fact you need to get into the building once we're open, you'll have to be buzzed in after you go through whatever screening is necessary. So that's going to be happening in the next few weeks. Streets and roads. This year, the roads that we anticipate paving this year, Westbrook Road, where we left off last year, to the West Milford border. Tulip Avenue, the entire length. Black Rock Terrace, the entire length, but we're going to upgrade the water main in that, as we discussed previously, this year first. The roller hockey rink, Borough Hall lot we have to do. That money has been saved from last year. Our insurance company is requiring some of that, and we're going to install the new water main at Black Rock Terrace, because currently there's a 2-inch main on that services 24 homes, and as we talked about at previous meetings, it has many water leaks that were repaired on it, so it's time to upgrade that. And we'll be putting hydrants on that street as we replace it. Any questions on that? In our, I want to enter into a contract with Wanacue Valley Regional Sewage Authority. We have met with the authority, and they, Nicole, I don't know if you had a chance to disseminate this or not. I just received this. We can carry it to the next meeting if we need to. But essentially, the Wanacue Regional Sewage Authority runs our James Drive treatment plant, which we receive rents from all the individuals that are on that plant. And they run our plant, they manage it, they do all the recording, they do all the data. We've needed to do a lot more increased maintenance on that plant. They would like to increase their compensation. They were at about $33,000 for a year. Some of the new requirements have caused them to spend some more time at that plant. They would like to increase that to $65,000 a year for the first year. After reviewing the program and the new maintenance programs, it is doubling in cost. I still think it's more reasonable than we can do it. I would encourage us to enter into this agreement. I just wanted to bring it up to your attention tonight, and I will distribute it in your next packet, because we need to have a sewer operator on staff to be able to handle those things.
Mr. Heck, you don't think that's excessive, that it's gone up that much, or no?
I will share with you that I always wondered how it could possibly be that cheap. And I think they didn't, now that they have a new sewer operator down there, they have evaluated all of their plants, including some of they do the schools, they do the James Drive, they do some of those things, they do the shopping centers, and they have really put real costs into what it costs to run these things, and I still think it's reasonable. I can go out for quotes, but I would like to at least continue 1 year so that we don't have to go through a process. And as we go through some of these renovations that we're going to be doing on the plant, it's probably important that we have somebody on there that knows the plant and can help us through some of these things. We're also going to be doing some construction and some investigation on cutting down on groundwater infiltration. This is supported by the folks that are using it. This is borne by those users, and it's paid for by those users. But I do think it is reasonable.
Okay, so you'll send us the information?
Yeah, I'll send it out. I'm not going to ask you to vote on that tonight. I will get it out to you. But We certainly
Okay.
need to have a sewer operator, and they've done a great job. Remember, they have to go there 24/7, just like we do in the water. And so I think that with the new restrictions and the new requirements, I think it's reasonable.
Okay, thank you.
Right, Mayor, if I could just ask, what are our other options in terms of providers? I mean, can we look at who else could take this? Because even if we have to pay that amount, I personally would be more comfortable having gone to the market to see what it would cost. That's not going to let the user fees go as far towards, underwriting capital expenditures as they currently do if they have to, pay twice as much annually in maintenance.
We certainly can go out to bid. I've spoken to several vendors, and everybody that I've spoken to really can't touch those fees. But and again, we own part of the Wanakee Valley Regional Sewage Authority, so that's why they can do it, and that's probably why they did it so reasonable for so long. I certainly can do that. That's the council's pleasure. I'll get this out to you. The contract doesn't end until I believe I think they're looking for October 1st through September 30th of the fund. So we really should address it at the next meeting, but I didn't want to not bring it up tonight after receiving this.
Thank you.
Mr. Klimak, on my notes I have that you have a employment contract for Mr. Dunn.
Yes, for Mr. Dunn, as you know, his firm is instrumental in our affordable housing litigation. The contract has to be renewed. Okay, you have Mr. Check, you have copies of it? Did it get to your office?
I did get a copy of it.
All right. Well, it's the same as last year. There's been an increase in fee. His firm was constant fees for the last 3 or 4 years. They raised the fees. As you can see, as far as the competence of Mr. Dunn and that firm, they're beyond reproach. We are fortunate to have such competent and knowledgeable attorney. Mr. Dunn, as you may know, is semi-retired, and we are his client. He devotes considerable time, all of his professional time, to the borough in this litigation.
Yeah, the hourly rate is $250 an hour for 2 of the principals, and any other attorney at $210 an hour,
Yeah.
or any other attorney that is of counsel to the firm.
Yes. Now, regarding the principals, as Mr. Heck and the mayor have directed me over the years, I do administer the contract in the sense that if certain principals are called in, I'm consulted first to determine whether or not it's necessary under the circumstances. But it's important to have various attorneys who have various skills in this area, led by Mr. Dunn. So I would recommend, if the council is of that disposition, that this contract be awarded. It's a professional contract. It doesn't have to be publicly bid. And as I said, the performance over the years has been superb, and Mr. Dunn's reputation speaks for itself.
So, need a motion on it?
Yeah, somebody can move it.
Anyone want to move that? I'll move it.
John Spear, I'll second.
Is there any discussion before we vote? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Schaefer?
Mayor Schaefer?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't hear.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Council members Bolton?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
O'Keefe.
No, I just want to preface my no with the fact that I do not doubt Tom Dunn's expertise in this matter, but I'm a little dismayed that the mayor saw fit to keep the minority representation off this very important task force and this huge matter facing the borough. And until that's rectified, I don't think we should be moving forward with anything related to COA until the minority has representation in this matter. Thank you.
So if you feel that way, it has nothing to do with politics.
Oh, yeah.
Ed?
I'm sorry, Mayor?
Do you have anything else?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I thought you were saying something else. North Jersey District Water Supply Commission, we received an invoice for, as you guys all remember, the shooting range across the street that everybody in North Jersey, federal government, Wanakee Valley Regional Sewage Authority, North Jersey District Water Supply Commission, and all the towns have all participated in the shooting range that was across the street from the Borough Hall. Unfortunately, we owned the contract with it, so as we let other people shoot there, they also signed on to an agreement. So we received an invoice from the reservoir for the cleanup. I think it was about $1.6 million. 2 years ago, I put the insurance companies on notice. So I just want you to know that I'm forwarding that insurance bill, the bill to the insurance carriers for a claim. Mr. Klimek, do you need anything else on that, or no? No, you're on mute.
Excuse me, yes, excuse me. No, your announcement is sufficient, and that you've been following the correct steps. Notify the carriers, put them on notice, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me, I want to talk a little bit about our union contracts. The council has given me authority to extend the union contracts for the police and the DPW quite some time ago. That was before the COVID crisis hit. We did not extend those because the groups had to meet and they had to discuss. And I've talked to the Finance Committee, which is Mr. Bolton, Mr. Ferretti, and Mr. Spear about this. And based upon those conversations, I would like to make a recommendation tonight for all of you guys to consider. Based upon the conditions that I presented to the council for those unions, I would ask for a resolution from the council to extend the contracts with the UPSEU white collar and dispatch as well. Right now we have the UPSEU blue collar that I have authority on. I don't have authority on the white collar and the dispatchers. I also would like to extend the non-union personnel for the same conditions, with the exception of myself. I don't think I should be included in that. With the same parameters as the UPSEU blue collar and the PBA, which is a few minor changes and under 2% increase per bargaining unit. We set aside the funds anticipation of these contracts based upon this year's budget, and with the pandemic, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, we stopped negotiation and obviously focused on other issues. As issues are starting to free up a little bit, while we're still focused on that, we still have to run the operation of the Borough of Ringwood, so we need to get back to resolving those contracts. I'm happy to say that over the past few years, we've negotiated what I believe to be good contracts with the unions. All the employees are paying for their health care. They're paying into a portion of their health care costs, and I can't really see any changes that we would be looking to negotiate at this particular time based upon some of the changes that we got at the last few go-rounds. There may be a few minor tweaking, as I mentioned at the last meeting, whether it nothing significant, but I really believe that the compensation is really all about the compensation for the employees. And I do believe that the council gave me authority, and the other two, I would just like to be consistent with all of the unions, if at all possible. I anticipate the authority provided to me for the two unions to be 2% or less, and again with minor modifications as previously outlined. So I offer that as a possible resolution for you folks to consider.
Do you want us to vote this evening?
I'm sorry?
Want us to vote on that this evening?
Well, I've been speaking with the Finance Committee about it. I wanted to speak to the full council about it. And essentially what you're just doing is really treating all the employees the same. So I don't know if any of the finance committee wants to chime in before I read a resolution.
Yeah, I can share that from my perspective and what I've seen over the years. What we tried, excuse me, I don't know where the product is coming from this tonight, but what we try to do is keep the percent increases consistent across the different unions, so that if there's a 2% increase in one, that we match that for others. And I just see this as an easing of that continuity and quality.
We also have our payroll clerk retiring. We're gonna absorb that job here. Debbie Buchanan's gonna be kind of overseeing that process. We're gonna have our payroll company that produces the payroll, does the direct deposits, all that stuff. We may have them do a little different things. We're kind of gonna streamline it a little bit. It would be easier if we started out with the correct pay scales as we go to that payroll service to do some of these services. So I think it would be beneficial rather than changing after we have started the process. So Mayor, would you like me to read a resolution for consideration?
Yes, please.
Nicole, what would this number be?
171.
Be it resolved, the Municipal Council of the Borough of Ringwood hereby authorizes the borough manager to extend the following existing contracts with the terms and condition as outlined by the council through the year end 2021. And that's for the New Jersey State Police Benevolent Association, PBA, United Public Service Employees Union, UPSEU Blue Collar Contract, United Public Service Employees Union, UPSEU White Collar Contract, the Ringwood Police Dispatchers Association, and all of the non-union positions with the exception of myself. I will be excluded from this. Be it further resolved, the Municipal Council of the Borough of Ringwood hereby authorizes the appropriate borough officials to take and execute the existing contracts.
I can have a motion.
I'll make the motion, we accept the resolution as read.
Have a second.
Second.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Ryan.
Oh, sorry, it's Ryan. I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Council members Bolton?
Yes.
Ferretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
O'Keefe?
Yes.
Next, I just want to give you a brief budget update. As of right now, based upon some things that we've taken up for our long-term encumbrances and whatnot, we believe we should be at 56% of the budget used. So our snapshot as of the 21st, our budget is $16,493,694.20. Paid to date, $8,524,684.04, or 51.68% of the budget. There are about $1.4 million encumbered, but those are encumbered for the whole year. That's in our regular general current fund. Our water operating fund, the budget is $916,200. Paid to date is $478,520.06. We've used to date 52.23%, so we believe we're in good shape. Debbie and I, listen, we're listening to what's going on at the state level, and originally, the governor was not going to make the August state aid payments, and some of those numbers, I think this August payment is like $700,000, the September payment is $500,000. So as of right now, they received some money, I guess, from the federal government. I'm not sure where they're going to pay the August, but we have to be cognizant that down the road, there's going to be a payment they're going to miss, and we're trying to hedge against that as best we can, so that if in fact we have that problem come up, at least we have some money tucked away to try and absorb it. We're never going to be able to absorb all of it. We just don't have that kind of money. But we're being really mindful in what we're spending to try and be prepared if in fact that happens. We do know that the homestead rebates are a thing of the past at this point. But we're going to see what happens. I think at this point we're going to get the August payment, and we'll see what happens September, October, and November. Right now, they're working on a budget presentation where that'll take them, I think, from September through June. So they carried it at least until September. So that's why your numbers are in the shape that they're in. It's not that we have money tucked away. It's just that there's some spending that if we can put it off, we are, in the event that we don't have the funds available down the road. Any questions on the budget update? Nope. I'm going to give you a police update as well. So far this year, the police department has responded to 4,595 calls. I have to tell you, more people are using the parks and estate lands than ever before. And unfortunately, that puts a lot of strain on our emergency services. I know many of you have gotten calls about it, whether it's illegal parking, whether it's can't get into our yards, or people walking through people's yards, whatever the case may be. And we continue to see an increase in calls due to the ecotourism that's going on. And there's people from out of town that are here all the time. I'm finding that our population on the weekends significantly increase. I would say it grows by 50 or 60% on the weekends with all the state parks and the reservoir property and the hiking trails, and it's significant. I'm going to give you an example. This last week we had 2 ambulance calls for hikers and another call for a lost hiker in the woods, and these are just things that are in addition to what we're already doing. There are more people boating, floating, and kayaking on the reservoir than I have ever seen in all the years I've been here. When you look out at the Monksville Reservoir, it is just filled with boats. So as a result, we need to have response for some type of water rescue. You know, as all of you know, over the last couple of years, we've had several water rescues where our police officers have commandeered rafts, they've jumped into water, they've paddled out to save people, and we've given out a lot of life-saving awards. And so, unfortunately, that's only gotten exponentially worse with all the activity that's going on due to the COVID and the number of people that are looking for the outdoors. And the state park doesn't have any water rescue capabilities. So what does that do? That leaves it on us. So our dive boat 272 has served us well for many years. Has fallen into disrepair. Our dive boat was a inflatable boat. It was inflated all the year. Unfortunately, it's not as inflatable as it used to be. So it's not something that we could any longer deploy. I think it's like 25 years old at this point. So last week, through the state contract, I ordered a new rescue boat so that our officers don't have to necessarily jump into the water or commandeer another boat from somebody else to paddle out to rescue somebody. They can just simply deploy the dive rescue team that is housed at the Stonetown Firehouse. And so hopefully we'll receive that boat soon. So because I'm concerned every day that I see all those people in the water, because they're not from here. They didn't grow up around the lakes necessarily, and some of them are our folks, but a lot of them are not. And we find that they do things that are odd. We've had a lot of people that take their boats and we end up rescuing them over at the dam. We don't want them going over that spillway, and so I think that it's an important fact when we have so many lakes in our communities. So I did that last week, and I just wanted to let you all know about it. And Mayor, I think with that all being said, I just ask everybody to stay well. Keep doing all the things you're doing. I appreciate all your help, and that's all I have for this evening.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bev. Mr. Klimek, do you have an attorney's report?
No, my report would have been on the retainer agreement with Mr. Dunn's firm. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we have, do we have any general public?
We do, hold on one second, we do have public. Mr. Guyan is with us this evening. He would like to speak, Mayor.
Mr. Who?
Mr. Guyan.
Okay.
Mr. Guyan, you have to unmute your... Okay, Mr. Guyan, you're ready. Jim, I don't know if you can hear us, but we can't hear you. Yeah, we still can't hear you, Jim.
I think he's still muted.
Yeah, he's unmuted. Jim, can you hear us? Yeah, I'm not sure his microphone is working. Okay, Mayor, so there's nobody else that would like to speak this evening, and if Jim raises his hand again, I'll try to get back to him.
Okay. Can I have a motion? Should we close public portion then, or leave it open?
You can close it, we can, if he comes in, we can always let him speak.
Have a motion to close public portion?
Mike McCracken, I'll make that motion to close the public portion. And Jim, if you could hear us, you could always send all the council members an email as well. We're usually pretty responsive, and if, I don't know what you have to say, but if it's that important, please send us an email.
Or you can call me tomorrow.
Second?
This is Councilman Durante, I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Council members Bolton?
Yes.
Peretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
O'Keefe?
Yes.
Okay, members of the council. Councilman Bolton. You're on.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to spare everybody my raspy voice and hopefully stay
Feel better?
and just encourage everybody to, stay safe.
Councilman Ferretti.
Yes. A couple of things. Scott, you mentioned the shooting range that I guess is across from Borough Hall, and a number of different entities use it. I was wondering if there's a charge for the other entities to use the range.
The range hasn't been open in several years, but there was a nominal fee. But equally as important, all those entities will probably be brought in to provide their insurance and their participation in paying the bill.
All right.
As well as the reservoir, who has a larger police department than we do.
All right, thank you. Relative to the police, but nothing about the range. Because of questions that I had from residents, I don't know if would you be able to discuss, so the residents have a more clear picture of how things work, the positions within the police department, and how, for example, somebody might become the chief of police in Ringwood, what the protocol is as people within the department move through different positions, and how or why or when somebody would be promoted into a leadership role in our department?
Sure. I could describe that, Mayor, if you want me to. We have a police department that has a chief, a captain, a lieutenant. I'm going to get the numbers correctly, but I think we have 5 sergeants, and then we have patrol officers. We then have special officers, and we have dispatchers. So essentially, we are a civil service town. So what that means is civil service kind of outlines how the process works. And as we do with all of the promotions, I'm sure over the last couple of years you've seen where I bring officers before the council when I promote them. All the promotions are done by myself as the borough manager. That's one of the roles that I have here, as they're all employees of mine, and so I promote them no different than I promote people within the building or people within the public works. But civil service plays a role in all of those functions. So what happens is, if in fact I decide to call for a list, everybody takes a test. Like if to get on the job as a police officer, you take a test, and there's a list that's generated. I call for a list, and then the civil service sends us. Let's say I want to hire 2 officers. I may send me the first 10 people on the list, and then what happens is they'll send me those 10 people, and there's a rule of 3 that happens with the list. So then I interview, I look at their background, and I hire based upon that. If there's a veteran, obviously there's a veteran preference. So specifically as people move up the chain of command, the same thing happens for sergeant, for lieutenant, for captain, and for chief. So what's going to happen through this process is anytime that there's a promotion that's available, I'll make that announcement, I'll do the interviews, and I will go through that process and promote and appoint the individual who I believe is in the best interest of the department and the Borough of Ringwood.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
I just want to thank the residents for doing the social distancing, mask wearing, and general awareness, and relative to COVID-19, and doing their best to stay safe, as you also said, and encourage you to continue that. I know, everybody looks forward to getting back to some kind of normalcy. I was on the school calls yesterday for the webinars, and now we have a survey to fill out, and it's getting stressful thinking about what's going to happen with the kids in school and daycare, and who's going to watch who, how, where, and why. So I just would say take it one breath at a time, as is my family, and just make the best decisions for your people. And I'm sure that'll be the right decision. And that's fine. And respect each other's decisions, and know that, or I have the utmost confidence in the people that I've seen working for the Ringwood schools, and that they're doing their best and working multiple times over more than they usually would have to. And I, my heart goes out to them. I thank them, Dr. Bernice, and everybody else involved. Thank you very much, and please continue doing your best for us. We're going to start practicing soccer. I'm looking forward to that, and it's going to be really interesting. We're going to be taking temperatures and things like that as we get on the field. Masks are going to be worn. Everything's different, but at least we're getting back to some degree of normalcy. And like I said, one breath at a time. I wish you all the best of luck. Stay safe. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman O'Keefe.
Yes, Mayor Schaefer, I want to commend both you and Chief Walker for demonstrating your support of the Black Lives Matter rally here in Ringwood on June 27th, 2020. Due to a celebration for my daughter's high school graduation, I was unable to attend. Luckily, however, there is a video of the march online. I would encourage any residents who weren't able to attend to Google Black Lives March in Ringwood and watch it. It was good to hear you proclaim that the Municipal Council of the Borough of Ringwood stands with those who seek to address racial disparity and inequality. There were two other prominent speakers that really got my attention. One was Vivian Mann, and the other was Wayne Mann. Both speakers provided first-person accounts of the racism they encountered growing up in Ringwood, both historically and unfortunately somewhat recently. Vivian noted that we aren't born racist, but that we're taught racism. And then Vivian said her family was disparaged and dishonored by those who called them Jackson Whites and Mineys. She also stressed the importance of unity and called the idea of defunding the police absurd, asking the audience, what the hell are we going to do without the police? I couldn't agree more. Wayne Mann described himself as a 6-year-old half Indian man. And he spoke about how inspiring it was to see Black, white, and brown people all coming together to peacefully protest racism. Wayne also recalled growing up in Ringwood, where he said things could be cruel. And as a child, he wanted to become a police officer, like Chief Walker, and serve his community. Wayne said it was a double whammy because not only was he Black, but he was also called a Miney, a Jackson White, and from Upper Ringwood. The stories we heard were heartbreaking, and unfortunately, some of them didn't take place too long ago. Wayne and his family learned to tolerate this hatred, and Wayne said he did it by growing a thick skin. He also learned that you couldn't fight evil with evil. It needed to be overcome with love. He credits his grandmother with helping him learn never to hate and teaching him the power of love. He also offered the audience some good advice: turn off the news Don't read just a book, read the entire library. Always protest peacefully, never loot or riot. In summary, he said Ringwood is one of the most beautiful places in our country, but growing up here was a bit of a nightmare. Chief Walker and Mayor Schaefer and Scott Heck all grew up in Ringwood, so I guess you all know what he was referring to. At the June council meeting, we discussed the board money that the town was given, and we voted to designate 10,000 of these funds to repaving the parking lot of the Good Shepherd Church. Last year, we allocated $4 million of this money to pay down debt and avoid a steep increase in taxes. I had proposed perhaps taking the $1.2 million left and designating it to the residents of Upper Ringwood that had suffered the most from the board dumping toxic sludge in our town. Councilman Spear then challenged me to come up with a plan. Well, I have one. First, let's stop calling this section of town Upper Ringwood. Instead, perhaps we can refer to it as Historic Ringwood. After all, the people who live here are part of the Rampo Lenape Indian tribe who have called Ringwood home for centuries. This section of town has the oldest homes, and many of them are in dire need of repair.
Councilwoman O'Keefe, can I interrupt you a second?
Certainly.
If you're going to bring up a resolution, then you need to send something out to all of us, and we'll take it under consideration.
That's fine. I'm just letting you know ahead of time what I would be asking for before I send it out. I did reach out to Vivian and asked her what she felt her community needed most. She said roofs and septics. So it would be great if we could provide interest-free loans for this community, and perhaps we can help them overcome the racial inequalities that have helped perpetuate years of poverty. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman McCracken.
Yes, I'd just like to encourage everyone to try to enjoy the rest of your summer, and please do so safely. And from what I understand, our rec football season is on, so go Rattlers.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
No report, Madam Mayor. It's awful hot out there.
Okay. I just have a few things. I just want to clarify, first of all, that I respect everyone on this council. I would like to believe we all ran because we care about this community and we want to do what's best for all of the community, every part of the community. And on that note, my pick for the litigation was due to one councilman has a lot of expertise in this field, and I know that the other person will have the time to put out. That was my pick, and that was my choice for no other reason. So I kind of take offense to that it was put that it was political. There was nothing political about it. Also, please, everyone, be careful. We have kept the numbers low in Ringwood, and I'd like them to continue that way. I'd like things to be able to get back to some normalcy. I'd like schools to be able to start again. I feel it's important that the children can get back to school. I think we have to speak to our teenage group, because I've seen a lot of them, you know, they're congregating at the beaches, you know, with their bikes. That's great, but they have no masks on. So parents have to be diligent. I know you can't be with them 24/7, but you need to maybe put a fear in them, because, you know, it could be anyone, could be any one of us. So let's hope for the best and we can get back to normal. Thank you, and can I have a motion to adjourn?
Kraken, I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Ready. Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Yes.
Council members Bolton?
Yeah.
Ferretti?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
And O'Keefe?
Yes.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Thank you, good night.
Good night.
Feel better.
Take care, God bless.
Good night.
Voice back.
Be safe.
Remember, we're still on the air.